Hey, disturbing stuff been happening in the news recently, and we were talking about it last night actually with some friends of mine about you've got teenagers stabbing each other in bus stops in Dunedin. Things seem to be out of control with a lot of violent crime in our society. The coalition government, of course, promising to clamp down on crime, but is that an effective strategy? What we're doing with the criminal justice system perhaps somewhat obviously doesn't seem to be working, but what are the solutions? What are the missing pieces on this one? Joining us on the program now from the Maxim Institute, Josiah Brown. Kia ora, good morning. Thanks for your time.
Good morning.
This is a complicated issue, and people are, well, quite rightly disturbed about rising violent crime in our society. We want to be safe in our communities. But the very system, the justice system itself, seems to be broken, or at the very least choked up with court dates being pushed back and half the prison population on remand.
I mean, all of this comes as we see store closures in the CBD due to safety concerns. One New Zealand, they have closed their store in the CBD due to increased threats of violence against their staff. Interestingly, they're still paying rent. They think it's better for them to pay rent and have their staff not there in order to keep them safe. Stats NZ said that they're going to abandon their office space in the CBD at the end of the year when their lease runs out. And you have business owners in the area saying that customers are too scared to come because they've just seen a rise in intimidating behavior. Their customers don't feel safe. The stats get worse, and it's not just the CBD. Foodstuffs reported that they have had 5,124 violent and aggressive offences, and that's just in the North Island alone. So that's up 56% from last year. So retail crime, violent crime, it is an issue. It also isn't a victimless crime, particularly with retail crime. You think of the classic anti-piracy ad, you wouldn't steal a car, you wouldn't steal a handbag. Retail crime, it costs the New Zealand economy $2.6 billion every year. And it's not just the retailers who have to wear that cost, we do as well. So all that to say is that crime is objectively a big issue. We need to do something about it because what we've been doing hasn't fixed anything. But equally, we need to be looking to the long term and some of the underlying solutions. The concern is that the political parties each only have some pieces of the puzzle.
Yep.
Are they seeing the whole picture, and what is it? National's approach, the current government's approach, tougher sentencing. That's fine, but you would hardly call many of these offenders rational actors. They don't necessarily consider the consequences of their actions. If I do this thing, I'll get this punishment. For some, it may be the threat of apprehension, which at the moment is low. There's a sense that you can do whatever you like and you'll basically get away with it. People walking quite slowly out of supermarkets with trolleys full of items. But you've also got the thing where you've got apprehension. These criminals, doesn't matter what the sentence is, if they're not being apprehended, there's nothing to be done. So tension there. Tougher sentencing, that by itself, is it enough? No.
But seriously, I suppose the change of government, a tough on crime policy, I suppose part of the problem with this is we're looking for short-term solutions. We're looking for something to stop what we see in our streets. But this is a long-term game. That there are no quick fixes to the problems that are leading to crime in our communities. There are no quick fixes to the brokenness in the lives of the individuals that are committing these crimes. The solutions are longer than our political term, and yo-yoing back between two extremes on this one, that's not going to solve it.
Yeah, look, that's where we need to be taking a generational approach. Most of the offending that we're seeing actually comes back to broken families and broken communities. These people, many of them have suffered profound trauma in their life. You think of youth offenders who have known nothing but a criminal environment where totally antisocial, unacceptable behavior is the norm. They get trapped into the prison system. And they become hardened in jail. They join gangs out of desire or necessity. They come out, and what you've essentially done is you've formed a hardened criminal. If early intervention had been taken, there's every chance that these troubled individuals could be reformed. They could be productive members of society. but they also have to overcome their circumstance, which is difficult. And so that's really where community initiatives, government initiatives need to come together to wrap around and provide comprehensive support. There are groups that meet weekly, where ex-prisoners come out, and often for those prisoners, that's their lifeline. That one time a week to share their burdens and have some connection to community.
Yeah.
Because if they don't know any better, they're going to do no better.
Yeah.
They can only take the options they have before them. And so we need to be working on giving these people a road to redemption, opportunities to come back, and the ability to leave behind the destructive lifestyles they've been leading. So for some people, they're unwilling to reform, and prison is the only place to keep society safe from them. So I'm not saying that punitive measures are unjust or unwarranted. They are. But we also need to be thinking about how we can bring these people back into society, and ideally how we can prevent this offending in the first place.
Yeah. And hey, if not preventing it, then at least a strategy that works in terms of rehabilitation. So it's not just like this revolving door that people are leaving prison briefly before they get arrested again and end up back in prison, which is the case for far too many people in our society.
I mean, and that's exactly right. And so really, as a nation, we need to be paying attention to the approach that our government is taking. Is it tunnel vision toward tougher sentencing, getting tough on crime, or is it tunnel vision toward the therapeutic crime? Criminals are victims. Let's just cuddle them and it'll all be right. That's tunnel vision.
Yeah.
We need to recognize the complication of this issue that we have before us, but also think practically about how then we might address it. And unfortunately, that's not something I think we've been doing very well.
Yeah, we're kind of going to the various corners on this one. We need perhaps a little bit of a middle ground to some of the political ideology on this one, and a longer-term strategy than a political term, perhaps. Josiah, certainly some food for thought on this topic. Thanks for your time. Thanks very much for joining us today.
Thanks, Andrew.
Hey, thanks very much for joining us in the Rhema studio. Thanks very much for watching the interview. It's kind of nice to have an audience, actually. And if you did like what you watched, then do give us a like, do give us the thumbs up. And if you'd like to see more interviews like that one, or perhaps even better, subscribe and those interviews will come straight to you. Don't forget to turn on your notifications, and we'll see you in the next one. Cheers.